Live stream.
Is the chat coming from?
The public is not. Let me see here.
Stephanie, is the chat going through Inventive or Zoom?
Inventive.
So we won't see the chat. You will only see it.
Correct.
Okay. So that's so Stephanie is now, so we can chat amongst ourselves.
Correct.
And Stephanie, when she gets questions, she's going to pop in and out and ask us those questions.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you guys for doing this, by the way. Appreciate you giving up in the evening.
Sure.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to having us.
Got to knock the cobwebs off too for the next ones.
So how do you screen share on this? Oh, I see it.
Just the green arrow down at the bottom. Yep.
You know? You want to try one, Nick, again? Or you
I tried, and I'm sure maybe Steph's trying to.
Yeah, host disabled attendee screen sharing.
I can't get back there yet.
It doesn't work out. It doesn't work out. It's not.
I've got this cool one though, Nick, of us in Hawaii with all the cameras.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
got one.
It's got the 360 camera and the 1D
Nice.
and.
Got one with us with Jill and team, Jill Heinerth and team.
Oh yeah.
On the bow of Shearwater.
So we are live.
I've got this cool one though, Nick, of us in Hawaii with all the cameras.
Good.
We are getting an echo.
All right. Welcome everyone to the 9th annual Thunder Bay International Film Festival. My name is Stephanie Gondula. I'm the coordinator of the film festival and super excited for our inaugural virtual film festival and our inaugural live stream coming to you live right now from beautiful snowy Alpena, Michigan. Well, some of us are coming from Alpena, Michigan. I'm going to turn it over to Sanctuary Superintendent Jeff Gray, and you're going to learn a lot about filmmaking in sanctuaries.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you for organizing the film festival. We're excited to be here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Good evening. We're going to have a fun time tonight. We got a great panel to do some discussion. My name is Jeff Gray, as Stephanie said. I'm the superintendent of the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary, located up in Northeast Michigan. We're going to throw a link to our website so you can learn more about this Thunder Bay if you don't know about us. But we're about 4,300 miles of protected Lake Huron waters where we protect the Great Lakes and their rich history with over 200 shipwrecks in there. And while Thunder Bay is an amazing place, it is one of the whole system of marine sanctuaries that stretch across our country from American Samoa to Florida Keys, up and down the West Coast, and of course here in the Great Lakes. So you can learn more about the sanctuary program throughout the night and throughout the festival. And we'll throw some links up so you can learn about that. And our team tonight is all from the sanctuary system. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we get into this incredible panel and discussion tonight, I just wanted to say there's no place I'd rather be than be out with this panel. There's actually one place I'd rather be than with this panel, and that would be Rogers City, Michigan. Because if the film festival was in its normal operation and there wasn't a pandemic, we'd be having a giant event in one of our communities. Tomorrow night, we'd be preparing for the festival and some big events for the entire weekend. But due to the pandemic, we are unable to do that this year. For the safety of our staff, our volunteers, the patrons in our community, we had to go virtual this year. And it's our first virtual film festival. Thank you for joining us. We want to see you next year live and in person, and we look forward to that. But we're virtual, and with that comes a silver lining. In the last 8 film festivals, one of my favorite things about the festival is that we were able to bring the world to Northeast Michigan. These films, we met people that we wouldn't meet, we saw places that we would never see, and we saw experiences that we would never be able to have. And so all those things came in through the amazing films, and it brought that here. But you had to be in Northeast Michigan to experience it. And now with the virtual film festival, we're welcoming people from across the country. And so the world's coming to Northeast Michigan, and Northeast Michigan's going to the world. And so again, we'll look forward to seeing you soon. And again, because of the pandemic, if you are at home fighting the virus, we wish you a speedy recovery. If you've lost a friend or a loved one, you're in our thoughts, and we're thinking of you, and we hope we all get through this very soon. I'm excited about this panel. And we have a great panel. I'm going to have them introduce themselves here in a second. But what I think is unique about this panel, and we might get some cool discussions with them, is that they're a team. They work together. Often these panels, it's individuals from different works, but these people spend a lot of time together in close quarters. And so we'll hear what they do, but how they work together as a team. And what I'm excited is that I don't just work with these people, they're all close friends of mine, and it's an honor to be part of this session. So with that, we're going to start with some quick introductions. And Nick, why don't you start and tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do now, and how long you've been doing it.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So I'm Nick Zacher. I am a filmmaker and currently a video production coordinator for NOAA's Office of National Marine Sanctuaries. I'm also a NOAA diver, so it's super cool to be able to take the skills underwater, which we'll talk a little bit more about. But I've been doing this, I think I've been with Sanctuaries for about 3 years. Prior to Sanctuaries, I was a producer and editor for National Geographic's digital team. So about 5 years going now, and just really excited to be with NOAA and the Sanctuary system.
Well, thanks for joining us. Where are you sitting right now?
I am sitting in Tacoma Park, Maryland, which is right next to, Washington, D.C. area. Offices are in Silver Spring, Maryland. So, yep.
Great. Thanks for joining us. Shannon.
Thanks, Jeff. My name is Shannon Sheichels. I'm the digital outreach coordinator for the Office of National Marine Sanctuaries. I've been with the Sanctuaries office for just over 2 years now. And I work with Nick and Kate, and I help to script and edit the Earth is Blue and Stories from the Blue videos, in addition to running the social media for Sanctuaries as well.
And we'll talk about those videos a little bit, the Earth is Blue and Stories from the Blue, and everyone that's watching this has access to all those films right now. And so hopefully you had a chance to see them, but you'll find some soon. So next, Kate.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Jeff, so much for having us. I'd rather be in Alpena, Michigan, one of the amazing places that I've been able to live in my life. But unfortunately, we're virtual. And I am Kate Thompson. I am the Director of Communications and Education and Outreach for the System of National Marine Sanctuaries. And I am so privileged to have an amazing team, including Nick and Shannon, and they make amazing things for all of you to explore the National Marine Sanctuaries of the country.
And I will say, for those that don't know it, Kate's started here at Thunder Bay. Thunder Bay was designated in the year 2000, and she spent some years here working before she left us for Washington and took a role there. And her impact on the sanctuary is still felt this day. She helped build the foundation of what Thunder Bay has become, and we're excited to keep working with Kate and this great team. So Kate, since we're talking right now, and our job at the sanctuary is to protect these amazing places and to share them with other people, to share them with people and do it in a way that the next generation can enjoy them the same way that we do today. And can you tell me, you've been working in this field for a while, how film and video has changed the work we're doing, and what you see the main role is?
So I actually have to go back to Thunder Bay. It was my first kind of foray into doing film and film work underwater, and doing distance learning from beneath the waves, live from the shipwreck, Montana. I was able to learn so much from different filmmakers that came to Thunder Bay when I worked there, and worked with you, Jeff, and had so many cool experiences working with filmmakers from across the country that came to highlight Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary. So, I mean, film has come a really long way from I remember that first film we did that actually plays in the visitor center to this day. That was high definition, and high definition back then was like, wow, it's popping out of the screen. This is so amazing. So high definition is kind of, where things went digital, and things changed a whole bunch with cameras and how we did filming, to where we are now, where it's like 6 to 8 to almost 10K, and virtual reality and 360 and filming with multiple cameras to bring you one image that completely immerses you. And so what I think that even back then, what that could do for people is, unlike the national parks where you can just drive in and see it and experience it, national marine sanctuaries are beneath the waves, and the wonders are beneath the waves. So it takes people like Nick and like Shannon and other people on our team to bring the wonder of national marine sanctuaries to the public. And I think that that's the biggest thing that film is able to bring to us. Just like Jacques Cousteau did back in the day, that first brought the ocean to the world through his PBS series and movies, that, we can appreciate what is beneath the waves, and that we need to understand and protect what is beneath the waves. And if you're not a diver, if you're not able to go there, how else do you appreciate that? And so that's what film and photographs are able to bring to us. They're able to bring us the wonder that brings the beneath the waves to us, to appreciate and to want to protect it.
And so people understand how we work, Kate's team does these amazing works, and we'll talk about some of their travels and the places they've been and the things they've seen, hopefully in a little bit. But they help make products that people like myself and people on my team use to help us do our job. And Nick, can you talk a little bit about some of those different products and what they are? And in a little bit, we'll maybe talk about the process of actually creating those. But what are some of the things you do to help protect American sanctuaries?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So we can kind of tie into the festival, but we have 34, films, but they're kind of separated into different categories. And we have an Earth is Blue campaign, which I'm sure Kate can talk more about. She launched it before I even came here. And so, our goal is to put out a video a week that is social media focused, with text on screen, educational, just from footage that we gather in the field. And then we have a branch off of the Earth is Blue campaign, video wise, that's called Stories from the Blue, which also started prior to me coming here. But that's the most fun, I'm sure, for Shannon and I, not to speak for Shannon, but that's where we really get to dive into not just the places, but the people who have dedicated their lives to protecting these places. And so it's the Stories from the Blue. They're more documentary style, and we really learn about what drives these people, and in turn, the people watching hopefully are inspired to take action. Building on what Kate had just said, you can't protect what you don't know. And so that's really why I got into this field. Was I have a background in biology and was considering a path in science and research, but I really saw the need to, instead of preaching to the choir, to really make content for the masses and educate them and inspire them to want to protect these places. And then the most exciting new thing that we've been really going into is virtual reality. And you can find those videos on our website. You find the virtual reality page. And these are our 360 VR experiences that really can transport you to, not everybody gets to go and scuba dive or snorkel or may not want to go underwater, but you can really experience these places without getting wet, whether it's on your computer or in an Oculus headset. And there's lesson plans associated with them, which our education team, part of another branch of Kate's team, we do a lot. And so with the lesson plans built around the virtual reality experiences, you can really dive in and learn about these places. I hope that answered your question.
It did great. And one thing it caught on, and we use that phrase all the time when we talk about exhibits or virtual reality or different experiences, that you can visit a sanctuary without getting wet. And we use that phrase, like, and Kate's so true, that this hidden below the waves and how we share those things. But we have this other awesome program called Get Into Your Sanctuary. And I think we need to switch what we're saying. You can experience these things and you'll want to get wet, because after you see these things, you're going to want to go visit them. And so I think that's it. I need to remind everybody, we have some great, if you have questions, please drop them in the box. Stephanie is going to jump in. We want to hear your questions. So it's not just my questions. We're in there. So please drop those in and let us know what you want to know from this team. Shannon, we talked about Earth is Blue and Stories from the Blue and how, you know, those two pieces work. Do you want to talk a little bit about the difference and like the images are amazing, but without the story, it's not a film, right?
Yeah, and without the story, I would say you're not going to get that connection as much to the sanctuaries. So the Earth is Blue campaign is more education based, and it's meant to show the beauty, and it's meant to introduce you to the creatures that call the place home, that call the different sites home. There's so many different amazing creatures. A lot of these sanctuaries are incredible hotspots for biodiversity, from the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and then of course the Great Lakes. So the Earth is Blue campaign is meant to really introduce you to the creatures and the shipwrecks that call the sanctuary home. But the Stories from the Blue campaign, at least the way that I look at it when I'm kind of drafting stories and editing the videos together, is you want people to feel like they know the person that you're telling the story about. They have some sort of agency in the story, and agency in the protection of these special places. So just being sure that the connection is built, and then that way they'll want to make a difference. They'll want to go out and volunteer. They'll pick up some trash in their backyard, all because they saw, you know, a video of an organization that picks up trash in Olympic Coast and makes prosthetic limbs out of it. So that was one of our videos that we released last year, the Million Waves Project. And it was just a short 6-minute video that was able to tell the story of a young girl who has a limb difference and connected with this organization, the Million Waves Project, and was able to get a more affordable prosthetic limb made out of ocean plastic. So we want to tell these stories that offer more accessibility into the sanctuaries, and that also offer more of a window into the people that call these places home and that want to protect these places. Because it's not just us that are protecting the places, it's everybody. It's everybody's job.
And I think that is what sanctuaries do, is we connect to communities, and it's not the sanctuary staff that does everything. It's the people we bring together to help fight these giant issues facing the ocean and Great Lakes. So Nick, how many films did you say there were total?
Yeah, so we have 3 separate programs in the festival. One of them is the Earth is Blue. It's basically a bunch of videos from our Earth is Blue campaign. And then we have the Stories from the Blue series, which is another program to check out. And that's going to be more your documentary style videos. So, you know, they're slightly longer and definitely, you know, more storytelling and more about the people like we've, you know, talked about. And then there's a Thunder Bay focused program where we programmed a bunch of products that we have created for Thunder Bay. And we're excited to showcase.
Everyone should watch that first. You have to watch that one to get to the rest, right? Like that. Yeah.
I do want to point
sure.
out that our very first Stories from the Blue was about Steve Kroll, who's one of my favorite people from Alpena, Michigan. Well, I should say Rogers City, Michigan. And that was our very first Stories from the Blue. Was Steve's story about how he was a shipwreck hunter turned into a shipwreck protector and the champion of the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary. So if you get a chance to watch that one, it's one of my favorites. I still get goosebumps watching it because Steve's one of my favorite guys. So make sure you check that one out for sure.
And he has left Rogers City. He's in the warm Florida Keys area right now. So hopefully he's watching us right now. But so we think of all those, just that many films on the festival from your products right now. And I challenge everybody watching, set aside Cobra Kai and Mandalorian and whatever you want, and dive into the film festival for the next couple weeks and binge watch these films in the festival because they are amazing, and I think you'll enjoy them. I wanted to come up, if there was a way we could track who watched the most, we could have like a Thunder Binge Award, and we could give them some award free tickets for next time. So we'll see if we can track people. But there is amazing things in there. And Kate, I want to go back to you, and because you mentioned how these are from all over the program, and I know ours by heart because I use them so often in my presentation. It's one of my tricks. If I give a lot of PowerPoints and presentations and I throw your videos in there, and no matter how bad the rest of my presentations, your videos are so great that everyone thinks I did a great presentation. So I appreciate you bolstering my talks that I give. But as I watch the other ones, I'm just reminded how powerful these are, and they do tell the stories of the places through the people and the life that lives in these sanctuaries. So when you have 600,000 miles of marine protected area in the program, and even if you're doing one a week, how do you make the decisions about where you go and what's the priority for your team? Because you guys know I'm trying to get you here every time we can, and there's 14 other people like me trying to get you to their site.
Well, I think what's important to say first is that, what are the stories that the sites feel that would be amazing to tell, right? So, I mean, I know off the top of my head some amazing stories just from listening to site staff, but I think, our leadership's biggest thing is one, what might be a priority for a year, right? What stories might need to be told, whether it be we want to do an expansion of flower gardens, which, yay, just hit the Federal Register, and hopefully we'll expand Flower Gardens National Marine Sanctuary, Flower Garden Banks National Marine Sanctuary here pretty soon, to a potential new sanctuary like we just designated Mallows Bay. And, it'd been almost 20 years, right, since Thunder Bay had been designated. So those are always priorities, is to tell those stories about some major things that are happening within our system. But the other thing is, like, for example, the Million Waves Project. Olympic Coast came to us saying, hey, there's this really cool story. We would love for you to come out and film the story happening. And so, I would go to leadership and say, I think that this is a great story to tell. And, we have the time to do it. And I think we should. And so that's usually how it happens in the beginning of a year, is a superintendent or a site staff will come to us and say, we've got some amazing things happening. Do you think maybe you could prioritize these as stories to tell? And so oftentimes that's how it happens, is we will go and prioritize that story based on, what a site might need or something cool that's happening. Like, not this past year, but the year before that, we went out to Channel Islands because they're doing a big project with Bob Ballard and his team to look at the caves within the Channel Islands, which I never knew about caves in Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. And some of the biggest cave divers in the world participated in this cave diving expedition. So we jumped on this opportunity to go out and to film these divers and talk to them about why they do cave exploration. And I know that Jill Heinerth, she actually is, her Stories from the Blue is in the lineup. And if you get a chance, check it out, because that woman is amazing. Like, her story is so impactful. And so, I mean, I can't believe that she still continues to do what she's done today. She's died, I can't even tell you how many times over almost, in her expeditions and cave diving, and even cave diving in icebergs. So that was an amazing experience for both Nick and I to go out there and to film that team, and also to experience, the charter vessel that we were on. That charter vessel actually ended up sinking 2 months after we were out there, and it was a huge disaster. And we were able to, in telling that story, talk about, the memoriam of that ship and the people that were on that ship or that vessel after it sank. So it's interesting, the stories that we're able to tell that we never knew about. Like, if Jeff, you hadn't told us of cool stories to come and tell, we would never know, but neither would the public. So we try to work closely with the sites to develop the treatments and to think about what stories we want to tell. And then Nick and Shannon jump in with their amazing talents to help tell the stories. I just do the organization, get us there, and then help to facilitate the equipment. But these guys are the storytellers for sure.
When I think of a film, and like, I don't make films. I sometimes try to shoot things with a GoPro and that, and play with cameras and that. But like, for you guys, would it be, there's the process of creating the film, right? Because that's really what you're doing, and like the experience for you of creating it, and then probably equally is the experience of sharing it and like taking it to a film festival or watching people react to it. And then, because these films are about calls to action and trying to inspire people, then there's the impact of the film, and watch, like, that could be a long time after the film takes place. I think of the Steve Kroll film, which was a film to tell a story about Thunder Bay, but it was also really to tell other communities about the opportunities for sanctuaries there. So you had 1 and 2, but number 3, that impact is still taking place today. So any of you want to
Yeah, why don't you
talk
jump on
those
that, Nick?
those 3 aspects of it?
Yeah, there's a saying that a film never is done, and that's a perfect way to put it, which can overwhelm a filmmaker, or you can just embrace it and be excited about it. And you know, every film that I've ever been involved with is still living. That's what's amazing about the storytelling medium. And the worst thing that you can do is make a film and then just sit on it. So, you know, we're really and we're still learning along the way, but it's definitely a priority of ours, is to how do we increase the impact? How do we reach new audiences? How do we tell new stories that, you know, maybe have gone under the radar, or, you know, things that are, you know, coming to fruition? We need to tell those stories now. And how do we reach those new audiences, and then bring in new audiences to sanctuaries? That's the end goal, you know. These places are for the public, and, you know, our job is to show that they're for everybody. And so what are the next stories that need to be told, and do that? And so, you know, yeah, a big part of our outreach for films is to try to get it into film festivals. And Kate, you know, props to her. And she's also, you know, kind of being humble here, she does way more than just get us there and get the equipment going. Yeah, she's filmed a lot of the stuff that you see in our films. So, you know, it's really, the film festivals are a great place to, you know, show off, you know, sanctuaries and tell these stories. But B, you know, we're making these connections at these film festivals. I was going to say earlier, you know, right when I started at Sanctuaries, we came up to Alpena for the film festival, and it was amazing to see the talent. It's amazing as a fellow filmmaker to meet other filmmakers that are just amazing. And I watch every time I watch something, you know, I think about, you know, Thunder Bay Film Festival, and I watch something and I'm like, oh, how can I, you know, they did that in an amazing way. How can I apply that to, you know, my storytelling, that type of thing? So these are really places where, you know, we can all get better at sharing stories. So yeah, we're really thankful for places like Thunder Bay International Film Festival to show off our work and get the message out.
A film is never done. Film festival is a deadline, and that makes it get done, right?
That's right. Well, yeah, exactly. Even when it's done, it's not done.
We got it done now. So yeah, and oops, we have been joined by Stephanie. Welcome. We have a question.
Interesting stuff you guys are talking about, but I do have a question from our virtual audience from Osneek, Michigan. How can a young storyteller or filmmaker get into the nature-based film industry?
Awesome question. And, you know, before I let you answer that, I don't know which one of you would like to take that, but maybe you could talk about, because I know you guys have watched the student film competition we have here, which I love. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole festival. So how can they get in, and what would be the advice that you would give someone? Why don't each take that? Because I think, you know, that is what we try to do. At the beginning, we talked about how we try to protect the sanctuary so the next generation can enjoy it, but we need that next generation to be inspired to do stuff so that next generation after that can enjoy it as well. So
I can start. You know, the biggest thing is, anybody who wants to get into this field is to really just, we all have, you know, cameras in our hands, is to get out and just start creating content and learning from it. If I look back at, you know, you don't have to go to film school. I did go to film school, but, like, you know, I can talk about paths. You can do it a million different ways. But the biggest thing is to have a passion for it. And if you have a passion for it, you'll make it. And, you know, if you really want to put your mind to anything, one of those things, you know, being this field, really just going out and doing it. And that's really for, you know, anything, but working hard and then finding mentors, or, the biggest, a big thing for me was finding people along the way to, if I needed to learn something or needed help or making connections, that type of thing, mentors, and just watching, when you watch something really good, ask yourself why. Start analyzing the films that you're watching and apply that to your filmmaking, and you're gonna, come a long way.
Awesome answer. Shannon, you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just echo what Nick said, and then also just add that as cheesy as it may sound, and you hear it over and over again, networking is incredibly important in the film industry. So if you're able to volunteer at a film festival, or if you're able to join the film festival in any way, then that's always great. Reaching out to filmmakers is not as impossible as it might seem. I know that when I was first getting started, it felt like I couldn't, if I found someone's contact information, I didn't want to bother them or anything like that. But people love to hear from folks who are interested in what they're doing. People love to talk about themselves. So reaching out, that's one thing I learned at a film festival that I went to last year, is that they want you to reach out and they want you to ask questions. Some of them will even let you shadow them. They'll take you out on trips. Not everyone, of course, but just fostering connections with people in the industry. And they're almost always more than willing to offer you guidance and information and help you on your way. I know that Nick did that for me when I was first getting started, and is the reason that I'm in this role right now.
Awesome.
And it's, networking is just incredibly important, in addition to getting your hands on a camera and just making some really bad content before you start making some good stuff.
And Kate will laugh about this. The guy David Ruck, who was here before me, David Ruck did Jeff, he did the same thing. We're all, find the right people to help you out. And then the other thing is, nature might seem like you got to go travel across the world to find nature. It's in your backyard. Go find it. Go find some, I don't know, bugs, deer, owls. I've been trying to hunt down some owls. Find some stuff. It doesn't, you can live in Washington, D.C. and still find it. So just go out and do it.
Yeah, make a short film about your dog or your cat. That's always good too.
I think it goes back to, I'll add one quick thing. I think it goes back to storytelling, right? Is figuring out how you want to be heard and how you want to tell those stories. So even Alpena, right? Never knew there was surfing in Alpena, but there was a cool film made about Great Lakes surfing, and it featured Alpena. So you never know what a story could be told about. And I think that that's the biggest thing, is find your story, find your passion, and tell it the best way you know how. And that might be your iPhone. It might be, anything you might have to tell a story. It could be blogging. It could be, anything to get yourself and your stories out there. But I think networking is a big thing, and internships. Both Shannon and Nick were interns with us at National Marine Sanctuaries. And they've been amazing, and obviously they work for us now. So I think that those are major connections and major stories to be told. Even Hannah McDonald, who has a story from the Blue about her back when she was young, and doing work with Thunder Bay. She worked all the way up through Thunder Bay, and she came and worked for us at headquarters. And now she's, getting her master's at University of Rhode Island in science communication, and she'll be telling stories herself here pretty soon. So
she's coming back. She doesn't know
yeah, she's coming back. I hope so. But anyway, that's, make those connections, get yourself out there, find your story to tell.
And from the filmmakers I've had the pleasure to work with or meet at the film festival, most of them, maybe not all of them, I saw they had an equal passion for the filmmaking aspect of it and their subject. And I know that with the three of you from working with you, is like, you love the ocean and you love it's those two pieces put together to help tell that story. And the other thing I'd say for anybody that wants to do something a little different, I am an underwater archaeologist, and the number of people that told me that wasn't a job or something I couldn't do as I was going through was quite a few. And people can tell you that, but don't take it. You decide your own path, and you create your own path, and find, if someone's close to you isn't supporting you, find someone that will. So I do like to take pictures. I do like to shoot some video. I'm not very good at it, but I want to say it's hard to do when you do it just on land. And when you introduce underwater or boats and that's such a much more difficult environment work in. And can you any funny stories or things you want to tell us about the difficulties? And then maybe next we can move over to some of the technology and the new ways that we can get the raw material to tell those stories. So talk about working on the water, close quarters, far offshore.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think that leads great into a question we just got from our virtual world. A comment too from a Jake Peterson to Nick.
Jake.
And, he says,
I know Jake.
Uh-oh.
It's the
we
right.
want you to come to Iowa.
He looks worried about the question. Yeah.
Not at all. Jake's a good guy, good friend.
And he just has a comment. He said they've got owls for you there. So
All right. We'll have to come back.
we do have a question about technology from Mark. How many different kinds of cameras do you use for your sanctuary films?
Steph, can I show my screen? Because I happen to have a cool picture up of lots of cameras.
I will try and give you permission very shortly.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Nick. Talk about the cameras while she's doing that.
Yeah, I mean, so Jeff had a good question just about working on water, and a big thing with water. There's two big things. First and foremost is safety. Water is can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. You have to take it very seriously. And anything having to do with scuba diving, that we've been in, strong currents and big swells, and but that comes with experience and training, and I think Kate and I speak for us both that we're itching to get back in the water. So, and then the other thing is that electronics and water don't go together, and so the most important thing when it comes to videoing or doing anything with cameras underwater is to keep them dry. And so we have these housings that we put the cameras in, and you just try to follow the whatever you want to call it, instructions to a T. And I don't want to jinx myself. We've only had a few very very
catastrophic.
Not catastrophic. We had like a Insta360 Pro get swamped, but that's about it. Now I'm jinxing us, Kate. I'm sorry.
No, I know. Where's the wood?
I'm gonna shut up.
Knock on it. I do have a funny story about this is the Lake Ontario proposed National Marine Sanctuary. We were there not this past summer, but the summer before I'm filming, and the St. Peter Wreck, which sits in about 125 feet of water. So it's a serious deep dive with a lot of equipment. We were trying to do 360, and we were trying to do regular filming, and people were taking photos, and all kinds of fun technological things were done while we were doing this dive. But on this one dive, everybody's equipment didn't work. It was, and I mean, getting in a 125-foot dive, you're waiting a long time before you can go again, right? So everybody's equipment, and we had probably 5 cameras on that dive, Nick, and we chalk it up to the ghosts of St. Peter's Wreck, because no one's camera worked on that one particular dive. So that was interesting for me, because I was like, how is it that not any camera worked on that dive? That was one story. And then one other story that comes to mind is when we were at Channel Islands, and Channel Islands has beautiful kelp that obviously rises close to the surface. So this dive was, it was probably about Nick, 50 feet down.
Yeah.
And we were trying to film sea bass, because they were tagging sea bass as part of their science project. And so we were thinking, it was flat calm at the surface. It was a beautiful day. The Pacific Ocean, no waves at all. And we start to go down, and all of a sudden I look down, and I've got cameras, Nick has cameras, and we see that the kelp is laying flat. And I thought, gosh, wow, did they have a die-off of kelp or something? But the kelp was laying flat on the ground. The current was ripping so hard that the kelp was laying on the ground. And here Nick and I are like crawling up the kelp to try to film the sea bass. We were hiding behind rocks and alcoves to film these sea bass, and them trying to get the sea bass. But that experience was, I mean, crazy. I mean, it must have been ripping like 2.5, 3 knots for the kelp to be laying on the ground.
Usually the current's at the surface, not at the bottom.
Yeah,
So
right. I mean, we've had
really
high current dives before where the whole dive was high current, but I was just blown away. It just like 10 feet down, the current was ripping that fast and the rest was just flat calm. It was a pretty crazy experience trying to huff and puff and pull the cameras along and the current along the, but yeah, just, I mean, lots of different technologies, lots of things can go wrong, lots of cool experiences at night with lights and all that. That's the other thing is maybe Nick could explain about lighting, which is a whole other storyline underwater, and trying to white balance your cameras and make sure that the lights meet with the green or the purple or the red that might be gone because you're underwater.
So I think you may be able to share your screen right now. And I just want to
great.
Follow up on something that Nick said there about it is an important part of the work that you three do. It is work, right? This is sounds like fun and great things. And anytime you're working on the water, under the water, there's an extra thing. And, you know, with our research team and stuff we do there is safety is first. And like it's so tempting to push it a little bit because you want that shot, you care about the research more. And it's really that mindset of your team is the most important thing and being
exactly
safe.
We've had to make calls, you know, and I'm sure you have to, Jet, you know, you got to make calls like, hey, no, this isn't, let's pump the brakes or, you know, make sure everybody's comfortable. That's always first and foremost.
Come back tomorrow if you have
That's
to.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and Kate, you're working on, were you able to?
Yeah, I still don't have access, but we'll get it.
Yeah.
There was a question about how many cameras. You know, we have a few main cameras that go underwater, and then we have the 360 camera that we shoot the virtual reality content with. So, you know, on a dive, you know, Kate's holding the camera, I'm holding the camera, and sometimes we'll have another, well, we have Paul Chaturkin, our other videographer, and then Matt McIntosh. So, you know, on any dive, you know, somebody's got a camera and we're just trying to, we don't get to spend a lot of time at these places. You know, we're really only there maybe underwater on a few dives for the whole week. And so we're really just trying to gather as much content as we can of the beauty. And if it's a particular research like the sea bass tagging, that type of thing, we're trying to get those shots to be able to tell the stories.
You know, and Shannon, maybe you could take this here, but when you watch a movie or a film, even a short one, the credits at the end are long, right? It's a team of people. It's boat captains, it's experts, it's dive safety people, it's everyone. You want to talk about all it's not just the person behind the camera, it's a full-on team that makes it happen.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it starts even at the site, just the site coordinators who are making these connections, making sure that the team's able to get on the boat and go out diving. There's safety divers, there are folks who are there to do the research, folks that are there to film like Nick and Paul and Kate. And then even when they bring the footage back home, we've got interns that help us out in organizing footage, starting to draft up and process the footage, and then making sure that it gets created into a beautiful story. And even then, there's a whole other host of clearance that needs to go on and different levels of approval, making sure that all the science is accurate, making sure that we're telling the stories the way that the sites need them to be told, the way that the science demands that they be told, and does justice to the story, does justice to the footage as well. So there's probably no less than 20 people who actually make these 2 to 3 minute films come to fruition.
Some of those superintendents are difficult to work with.
Superintendents, yeah.
So let's get into the technology, because that is the fun part. And if I think back about 25 years ago is when I first started doing some of this stuff. And, when you took a camera underwater, you had 24 pictures, maybe 36, and you didn't know if any of them came out. And it was so different. And now the ability to kind of see what you're doing underwater. But so we can talk about the technology of the different ways to capture the images, but it proves the challenges. You only had 24 shots. You only had a little bit of, because the battery life on cameras was so short back in the early days. But now it's like sometimes there's so much footage. That's a challenge as well. So I guess talk about that a little bit. And I do want to get into 360 and drones and all the other cool things that you guys have at your disposal.
Of course. Yeah, I can cover, yeah, I'm a spoiled filmmaker. I've shot on film when I was younger, not video film though. I mean, so in the digital age, you can film too much, and sometimes we do, all too often we do. And as you get more and more skilled, I'm still learning along the way. As I get more and more skilled, I'll be better and better about how selective I am about, how much I film. But, and then I think your other question, some of the, and Kate touched on it, was, the hardest part, one of the harder parts about filming in general is lighting, even above water. And then when you go underwater, lighting becomes your enemy, but you embrace it and you try to, we're lucky we have some very powerful video lights that come under with us to illuminate, because you lose colors as you go underwater. And so you really start to see washed out greens and washed out blues instead of and getting those reds and those oranges to pop. You need external lights, and and especially the deeper you go, the more light you need. And so that's something. And then we use red filters as well to kind of add those pops of colors back in. So that's been fun to learn, and I think we've almost got it dialed in. We're getting there.
For me, the hardest thing is hitting delete. Like when you look at
right, yeah.
Man, I never want to throw anything, even though I know it's horrible. I don't hit. And then you mentioned light, and like for those that haven't shot underwater or anything, but it's not just the darkness of no ambient light, but there's stuff often in the water, right? It's like sometimes with the sediment and stuff, it's like filming in a snowstorm would be the only, or a sandstorm would be the only equivalent. So yeah, it's a challenge. So
definitely.
Shannon, do you want to talk a little bit about 360, and because it's now a different story, right? In traditional, I don't know what we call the difference, but in what we're doing right now, like your viewer is looking at one thing, but when you take these virtual reality and 360 experiences, as the storyteller, you sort of lose control of the viewer's attention. Like,
yeah, I think that's the most exciting thing. That's the most exciting thing about 360. Nick shoots the 360 and stitches it together, and then I've helped on editing some of the stories together once that stitching comes in. And the biggest difference I've found in editing a story together that's 360 versus just a normal 2D story is that you have to keep everything in mind. You have to keep things behind in mind, things to the left and the right. Noticing where the action happens in one clip before you cut to the next, because that's where someone's going to be looking. So if you've got one clip where they're looking at the sea line here, and then you cut and the next clip the sea line's over here, they might not catch it in time. So you have to kind of take all of these things into account: location of shot, like location of the different objects and subjects in the story, in addition to just trying to get some interesting facts about what they're seeing, and making sure that it's engaging, while also giving folks enough time to just sit and enjoy and look around at the same time. We have one 360 video from Thunder Bay, and that's a dive on the Wilson, the DM Wilson. And with that story, there's so much history buried in these shipwrecks, and when you dive over them, you normally wouldn't be able to have someone in your ear telling you that, this is the windlass, and this is, this is the bow. There used to be coal in this ship. So it's really neat to get this experience to be able to dive on a ship and then also kind of get that audio tour at the same time, and be able to take your time to look around and always make sure that you're not cutting too fast, or that you're not, holding too long, but just giving folks just enough time to see everything, take it in, and then, move on to the next exciting thing.
I think, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
For me as a diver, every time I dive, it is like you're going on an exploration, and the 360 video has really changed that, where you have this, whatever you want your point of view to be, you have it, and it's this you are moving through three-dimensional space, and that's really what diving is, where you're going through something. So go ahead, Kate. Sorry.
I think that when I first started thinking about doing 360 and why we should do 360, it was actually the company that we bought the camera from, which is out of New Zealand. And this camera can actually go down to 1,000 feet. You can put it on ROVs, and it was the best rated 360 camera, especially at the time for any camera underwater. And their video, which took me so much and made me want to buy this camera, went into and penetrated a shipwreck. They set up the camera on a tripod within a room in a shipwreck, and you see the divers come in, and you can look anywhere. Oh, like it just gave me goosebumps, because obviously penetrating a shipwreck is such a crazy, exciting experience. You feel like you were there. You feel like you were with the people who worked on that ship, and that's what it was so amazing to me. And I was like, we have to have one of these. We have to be able to tell that story that way. So that was why I initially wanted to get a 360 camera, was the shipwreck.
Well, we have a question from one of our viewers, Mark, which this is an interesting question because it's the opposite of what we're talking about, from the challenge of having these expensive cameras underwater to the challenge of having these expensive cameras way up in the sky, and wants to know about using drones and if we use them and how we use them.
I'll go ahead and jump in on the why we first went into drone usage. And it's very technical with NOAA. It's there's a lot of policy things that hurdles we had to overcome, and still have to overcome, to be able to use drones. But because we're lucky in having a partner in the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation, we are able to run the drones through their auspices. So, and we have an FAA certified drone pilot, Matt McIntosh, and he works for the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation, and he does an amazingly epic job at filming from above, which creates a whole other experience in itself, feeling these stories from above and feeling these stories not from your usual perspective. And so drones just add a whole other level. We have, or I should say, the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation has two different types of drones, one that's smaller that you can just throw up quickly, and another that's quite large and can film at larger capacities. But just learning how to film with drones, being safe in filming with drones. There are regulations and things you can and can't do when you film with a drone. But I'll throw it over to Nick, because has more experience actually operating them. And windy conditions, there's all kinds of things you have to think about when you film with drones, but it adds a whole other world to the production side of the house.
Let's hold on that, and I'm going to ask Stephanie to throw maybe a couple images of, we have some amazing drone shots of some of our shipwrecks, the shallow shipwrecks, where it's really the only way to see the whole thing at once. They're just stunning, and so
That'd be awesome. Is it from Brian Dort?
Yes, yeah. So we have a question from Angela, and this is an awesome question, and I think it's a challenge not just for filmmaking, but for any way that we communicate with the public. What do you think makes more impact or inspires more action? Showing people how bad conditions are, pollution, damage to the environment, or showing people how beautiful the ocean is? And so
I have a response to this one.
That's an awesome question. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really great question, and something that I think a lot of science communicators struggle with while they're figuring out how best to tell their stories and how best to inspire folks to action. And it might be a bit of a cop-out, but a little bit of both is kind of usually my technique. And not just showing the bad, but showing people trying to fix the bad. So showing a bit of the passion and the human behind the bad, that's trying to invoke action and trying to work together to fix what is either broken, or fix the damage that has already been done. Showing a solution, showing a way out, I found is always a really helpful way to help folks think it's not impossible. It's something that I could do as well. We have a Stories from the Blue that covers our Ocean Guardian School program, and a big part of that program is getting kids out into the environment and learning what they can do and how they can help just in their local watershed. So be it, starting up a composting program at school, or going out to the beach and picking up trash. All of those small actions do end up having big consequences, but in a positive way. So I think that it's important to recognize the damage that has been done to the environment it's important to recognize also, though, that there are many, many people putting in a lot of effort to get back to beautiful.
And are making a difference. I mean,
and are making a difference.
Take a look what's going on in the Florida Keys right now, that our sanctuary down there. So then there's some amazing things. And that I just had from watching these films for a long time, two things I'd like to add to that question is that we have had films and even sessions where it is doom and gloom, where we accidentally strung together a couple of those, and you walk out of those and just numbed, your mind numbed, and and try to have that hope. And I think the other thing is taking an honest look at it, because they've certainly have seen films where they overplay one side or the other, and just, being truthful to the audience is what I appreciate. Is that, again, I'm not a filmmaker, but Kate, this is your expertise, that question, and again, not just film, but I think that question applies to so much of what we do.
It does apply to a lot to what we do. You have to have a hook, right, for your story to tell something impacting. And oftentimes it's the doom and gloom that's the hook. But the thing about it is you have to have a solution. You always have to have a solution for people to walk out. I hate to make this sound Disney, but to have a happy ending somehow, right? Not all the times do you hear of happy endings, and there are a lot of serious issues that are related to the ocean that we really need to address immediately. And if you think about it, films have made policy changes. So like the monument, the Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument, was designated as a Marine National Monument, the very first one, because of a film that Jean-Michel Cousteau made. And it impacted the Bushes so much that they wanted to set aside that place. So film makes change, it makes impact, it makes people say we need to change the way we are doing things. And good filmmakers do a good job of that. They give a story and a hook and tell a problem, but they also have a solution at the end that allows you to, whether it's vote or go to your local policymaker and write to them and tell them of the issues. But to understand both sides of the story as well, because some filmmakers are very biased in telling a story. I suggest you try to watch the other side of the story as well to come up with your own opinion about what needs to make and change. But for us in education, the bottom line for Sanctuaries is resource protection. We want to help save these places for future generations. And I think that that's the biggest thing, is teaching people of the hope and the impact that they can make into the future for these places, and to ensure that they're there for the next generations to come.
Excellent. Awesome answer. So we are down to our last couple minutes, and so I'm going to do some rapid fire here. Quick answers on this. So, all right. So we have all these people watching. Hopefully people are going to keep watching, rewatch this again. If they were going to watch one of those films in your sessions, which one would you ask them to watch? One or two that they have to watch? Nick.
Yeah, I would recommend, I'm biased because of the Stories from the Blue. I love making those, and I'm going to steal a few of Shannon's maybe, but Homecoming: Journey to Limu is an awesome film. It is one of the most special films I've ever been involved with, but check it out. And then Hannah McDonald, I think, is the first Stories from the Blue I ever made, and she's got an awesome story. She worked with us. She was a colleague for a while. She's going to, she's doing awesome things and will continue to do awesome things. And so check out her story. It's very inspiring. So those two.
Shannon.
Yeah. Well, I love those two as well. But I'll also just add the Million Bays Project, Stories from the Blue. That was the first one that I worked on, and it will always hold a little special spot in my heart. And I also love the one we titled it Disentangling Extinction. And it's Stormy Mayo's story from Stellwagen Bank National Marine Sanctuary, and his work to help disentangle and also protect the North Atlantic right whale. I'm from New England, so I also just really love looking at some classic Boston, Massachusetts and Gloucester, Massachusetts content.
This is like asking what's your favorite kid, right? Like, it's not a fair
Exactly.
question. So, Kate.
Oh, Jeff, this is hard to go rapid fire for me. Having 300 films under our belts, but
we can mute you. We'll mute you if it takes too long. So
I'm going to go back to Steve Kroll, because
great one.
He's my man, and he embodies the soul and spirit of Thunder Bay. And this is the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuaries Film Festival. So I love his story. I love the guy. He tells an amazing story. So watch that one, especially in the Thunder Bay grouping. But I also check out the 360 because it'll take you under waves and take you underwater in 4 different national marine sanctuaries. So try to check those out for sure.
Okay, last rapid fire, and then I'll have some closing remarks. So other than Thunder Bay, what is your favorite sanctuary to work in? Nick?
Man,
It's a trick question. Don't answer
It is. You
No,
can
that's
pass.
no.
I love them all equally.
Pass. I would have to say dive, because I was a spoiled diver. I grew up diving coral reefs, but diving the kelp forests of Channel Islands was
So cool.
pretty amazing. So, and swimming with the sea lions and stuff like that. So that's definitely the best. And I give props to Kate for getting us to these cool places. In 3 years, I've been to some really amazing places. The sanctuary system is fascinating. So yeah.
Go ahead, Shannon.
I would say my favorite site to work on films about is Olympic Coast, because I am absolutely in love with the Pacific Northwest, and
Amazing
the
place.
absolute power and beauty of the ocean there is incredible. And I will always want to work on films about Olympic Coast National Marine Sanctuary.
Great. Kate.
This is tough. Again, I've been diving in
15
every
people watching,
every sanctuary but Cornell Bank and the Monument. So it's really tough. They're all amazing places to film. But I think I have to agree with, besides Thunder Bay, will always be my favorite. Shannon, Olympic Coast. We had a dead flat calm, which never happens in Olympic Coast National Marine Sanctuary, and I saw things that I've never even imagined. So off the round the hope of Cape Flattery, and it was epic. It was really epic.
Awesome.
I also want to do just a quick plug that we put out, like Nick said, a new video every Friday. And you can follow us on our social medias, just search National Marine Sanctuaries, and it'll pop up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and Tumblr as well, and YouTube.
Yes. My favorite place where I've taken a picture would be American Samoa. I love that place. Has just changed my life visiting there. So to end, before I thank you guys, the word that I heard so many times come out of your mouths was the system. We talk about these individual places, but those places all come together to be a system. And those people that are fortunate to work in the system, our mission, our goal is to protect those places, but also to the work we do in those places to protect the rest of the ocean and the Great Lakes. The boxes are important, but we care about it all. And the 3 of you have done amazing work to help people like me do our jobs, and it's really changed how we do things. So thank you so much. If we were at the sanctuary, we would be having a little reception after and drinking some local beverages. So I hope you all can enjoy a beverage after this. To everyone watching, we thank you for joining us. Enjoy the next couple weeks of the film festival. We can't wait to open the doors of the Great Lakes Maritime Heritage Center back up and welcome you. We look forward to a summer of people getting back out on the water and visiting the sanctuary, but we'll do it when we can do it in a safe and healthy way. So thank you everyone for joining us. Check out the comments for web links to learn more. And I'm excited to find out who wins the Thunder Binge Award this year. So, all right, have a great night. We're not sure if people are still watching us, so we'll say thank you. That was great. You guys did awesome. Thank you so much.
Excellent moderation, Jeff.
Yeah.